Welcome to Capital Connection. We're going to try something a little new here. It is a little bit of a video interview with HBAV CEO Craig Toalson. I'm Jeff Kelly with HBAV Communications. HBAV is active in the General Assembly, as everyone knows. We're just starting the second week. So we want to check in with Craig and just get a sense of what's happening in Richmond these days, both with just overall the General Assembly, as well as those bills that are affecting home building. So Craig, welcome to Capital Connection.
All right, Jeff, I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to this new format.
Yeah. So before we get into some of the bills that are affecting the home building industry, tell us just kind of what the last almost 2 weeks now have been like, right? We gavelled in on the 8th, and then what happened?
Yeah, so today is for those that are tuning in for the first time. Today's day 12 of the General Assembly. They gavelled in on January 8th, like you mentioned, and then they went home for 4 or 5 days due to the water crisis here in the city of Richmond. We were under a boil water advisory for 3 days, so everything downtown Richmond was shut down and everybody went home. And why that's
Yeah.
important is because it's a short session. And when I
Yeah.
say short, we got to get all this done in 45 days. And so lopping off 4 or 5 at the very beginning is a lot of time. So
Yeah.
that's what's going on down here. And let me tell you, the halls of the General Assembly and the Capitol are very busy because we have a lot of work to do.
I do feel like I mean you and I were talking earlier. There hasn't been a day that's gone by since that we haven't touched something. It's been a lot. It's been
Yeah.
I feel like I'm underwater.
No, right. No pun intended. Um,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's that's a Emily on staff here at HBAV. Also, we were saying, gosh, it's just been a very busy January.
Hmm.
Um, but it's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
this is when we do what we have to do for our members in our industry,
Yep.
and we're advocating for them. And even though the pace is fast, that's okay. You know,
Yep.
we're doing everything we can.
So, as everyone knows, the General Assembly, they tackle more than 2,000 bills each year. Many of those touch home building, and that's what HBAV monitors, right? So, before we
Yep.
get into some of the bills, set kind of the stage, Craig. You've spoken with several groups, you've spoken with a lot of legislators in the last few weeks. How do you kind of present, what's the foundation? Another play on words. How do you kind of present the case for where the home building industry is today?
Well, we are constantly talking to legislators and regulators about the overwhelming demand for housing. Um, Last year, or 2023, we don't have the 24 numbers yet, but in 2023, Virginia's population grew by 34,000 people. And it's expected to grow between that number and 45,000 between now and 2028. And we're just not building enough housing. They know that, but we're taking it to the next phase and telling the reasons why we're not producing enough housing and where the bottlenecks are. And it really is coming down to we don't have enough lots, we don't have enough land, the process takes too long, and then the homes that we can build are only affordable to a very small sector of that Virginia population. So we're communicating the barriers, the opportunities, where there may be some other solutions out there for communication and get more data so that we can be very
Yeah.
solution based and oriented. But
And
that's what's going on. And you mentioned 2,000 bills, two over 200 are we flagged that have an impact on
mhm,
us. So it's a
mhm.
lot.
One of the things when I think of HBAV and what you all do, right? It kind of goes back to controlling what you can and letting the rest happen, right? You guys are there to control and pull the levers of things that you can change, right? There's one stat that you cite regarding regulatory costs. I wonder if you can share that for us, and we'll put the slide up here so everyone can see it. But talk about that regulatory slide. It's been around. I'm sure you've got it etched into your brain at this point.
All right. So roughly 25% of the cost of every new home is due to regulation or $93,000.
Mhm.
And it's roughly half 50-50 during the development process and 50% during the construction process. And for every $1,000 that we increase the cost of a home, about 4,000 Virginians are priced out of the market.
Hmm.
So we're really taking that on the road, and that number, that regulatory cost number, goes back to 2021. It comes
Hmm.
from our National Association of Home Builders, and
Yep.
I believe that's going to be updated this year, so we'll have a new number. Um, and I would love to say that it's probably going to go down, but as we know, it's not,
Yeah.
and it's really affecting everybody, and it's really we have some statistics that we've been presenting out there that we may share with folks about how it's affecting those in the age range from 25 to 44
Hmm.
and the income that you need. You have to, in Virginia, on average, household income, you need to make $137,000 a year to afford the median priced new home.
Medium priced new home, right?
New home. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
that's just out of control. So
Yeah. So, going back to kind of those levers that you all pull, and we don't have to get into all the legislation. We'll have a link out here so people can go and get the details. But there is a piece of priority legislation, right, that's out there from Senator Van Valkenburg and Delegate Coiner. Talk a little bit about what this bill would do to, you know, push housing to a more affordable place.
yeah, well, again, we're really looking at the supply side. Everyone knows we've communicated we have the demand. So what's taking so long on these projects? And our priority legislation this year is Senate Bill 974 by Senator Van Valkenburg and House Bill 2293 by Kerry Coiner, like you mentioned. What this bill would do is it would streamline the approval process when it comes to site plans and plats. So after a property is rezoned and it's gone through the entire public hearing process, um, then that builder developer it's approved. Now it's by right. So that piece of land that was agricultural is now zoned for residential.
Mm.
It's now by right, and they have to go back through the process of the locality. We're working to streamline that second step process that
Yeah.
oftentimes is taking just as long as the original zoning process.
Hmm.
So we get a by right development. Let's get this thing. We know the local government has said this is what they want. This is the use they want. Now let's get that use on the ground. They've already signified they're ready for it. So how can we get that in today's economy? Um, Time is costing so much money, and that money, that interest carry of every project, is ultimately just passed on to any consumer. It's the same cost of um, the bricks and mortar and the labor. The interest cost is just built right into how long does it take me to build this and get that apartment rented or that home sold.
Yeah. Very much a let's roll, let's do this
Let's roll.
bill. Yeah. Yeah. Let's roll bill. I like it. You
Yep.
can use that if you want.
Uh,
Is there any other, if you talk about some of the top legislation that's out there, is there any other pieces that you all are pushing?
yeah. So one has to do with infrastructure. We know infrastructure adds significant cost to housing.
Mhm.
So we are putting in a bill that would establish the Virginia Residential Infrastructure Fund that would provide water, sewer connections, roads, you name it, so that these homes can be built to try and take some of those costs off of that builder developer. Because a lot of times those infrastructure costs are so high that that project is just one, it's not able to be completed, and if it is completed, the costs of the homes are so expensive.
Mhm.
So that's one. That is Senate Bill 1189. And then we have Senate Bill 1263, where we're talking about water and sewer connection fees. These fees just, on average around the Commonwealth are over $10,000 per home or per apartment. And we need to start having a discussion about, can localities waive some of these fees if they want to get serious about affordable housing? Let's
Mhm.
look at the fees that are going to the locality to say, are they willing to reduce or waive some of these fees um, that are really barriers to the affordable
Yeah.
housing?
And this is obvious for us, but in your own words, what's the benefit of a locality putting up that money or helping with that financing? Why should they do this?
Well, it's good for the community. It's good for everyone who may have grown up in that community, is at their local high school or anywhere, to say now I can afford to rent. because of this, and it puts that property tax right back into that community.
Hmm.
Um, it's our service workers. Again, it's a lot of young professionals between
Hmm.
25 and 44, and we got to get them into. We're talking about shelter here, so
Yeah.
um,
Business won't come if you don't have a place to house
no,
them.
that's right. That's what it's
You
all
know,
about.
I want to move on to some of the other bills that you guys are also tracking in opposition. I will say that, you can go to the HBAV website. We have details on all these bills and others. Check them out. You can really dive deep. You can click the button, you can click the bill number and go see all the different details. I want to move on to some of the bills where you all are, quote, playing defense. And there are two that stand out to me, and I want you to address this. One would require a detailed map of all the tree locations and root zones in a development. The other is around giving local authority to provide housing or rent control. Now, when you read the descriptions of these, the average consumer might say, like, oh, I want to protect the trees. I want to, I want rent to be stable. Why is HBAV, why are home builders saying hold up on these bills? Why are you opposing them?
Yeah, well, first, it's just we can talk about the rent control. And anytime you own an asset, you have to maintain that asset.
Hmm.
Um, so in this case, it's usually an apartment building or uh, a home of some type that you're renting. And to maintain anything today, it costs more than people realize. Whether it's putting a new roof, putting new HVAC equipment in, um, paying the insurance to insure your home now. If you've gotten your homeowner insurance renewal rates, they're just going up with all these natural disasters. So to insure an apartment building, the insurance rates are just astronomical. So if we want to have rental the rental stock be quality and maintained to a good level, we have to let those property owners do that and then charge the appropriate rents for it.
Hmm.
So that's number one on the rent control. We just think that if we do that, we're just going to see the properties decline, or in some cases, if you can't pay the insurance, what happens? They walk away from these properties because they can't make the
Hmm.
numbers work.
Hmm.
The
And
builders are
it's already hard enough to make those numbers work.
they're doing everything they can to make the numbers work, building smaller, more dense, you name it. They are doing everything they can to make the numbers work. Number two on the bill regarding the trees and the root systems and doing a survey, as we talked about earlier, that time, money, time is money in this instance, and we do so many site plans, surveys, stormwater management plans. This would just be one more plan or survey that would have to be done that would add money to the construction and development process, um, that would delay. So again, we're getting serious about affordable housing here. We've got to shelter Virginians, and we can't let we do everything we can to save trees. And we're very serious. We know trees. If you talk to any builder or developer, they'll tell you number one, it costs me money to remove a tree, so I don't want to do it. And
Mhm.
number two, I can typically sell a home or a property for more if it has trees on
If
it.
it has trees, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I do not want to remove them and I can sell them for more. So I don't want to touch the trees. But in many instances, whether it's stormwater regulations or a site plan that says this is the buildable area, this is where you have to build, the trees do have to be removed. And most cases, we're replanting trees and doing everything we can. Our homes are so energy efficient, so environmentally friendly right now. Um, it's amazing what our builders are doing. So
Hmm.
that that's the sticking point on that one.
Craig, before we head out, any last messages that you want to get across for those who may be watching?
I would say that if you're interested in this and you see a bill or you want to know more information about it, reach out to us. You might see it in a local newspaper, or you may hear a member of the General Assembly mention something. But send it to us. We want to make sure we're aware of it. We'll tell you our position on it. It takes all of our members to be active in this process to tell us what truly matters. And so we're deploying our resources correctly.
Great. Craig, thanks for taking the time today.